So the steps that you need to take to do that, in case you're interested in doing your motorcycle license or you're just interested in how different provinces do things, is dependent on whether you already have a license. If you do already have a license, it's kind of a 3-step process and it's not too complicated. First step would be you go in, grab a book to study from. It's one of the riding guides. You study that because it talks more about like kind of the basic rules of the road again and the signs and all that kind of stuff. You learn about the motorcycling perspective instead, a little bit on top of your riding, and then you go in and you write a knowledge test. Once you get a pass on that, if you fail, you can still rewrite it. You can't do it right away, obviously, because that means you need to go back and study some more. But once you pass that knowledge test, then you're actually okay to go ahead and ride, but you have some restrictions placed on your license for that, your permit. You must ride with a supervisor at all times. You can only ride between daylight and dusk. You cannot exceed 60 kilometers an hour for your speed limit, and you cannot have passengers on your bike. So those are 4 restrictions that you get. Now that learner's license is also good for a full year, and something that you need to do though is you also need to at some point go ahead and do your motorcycle skills test once you have your learner's license in place. And that motorcycle skills test is pretty much a psychomotor skills test on a variety of different slow speed maneuvers, including things like your U-turn, being able to do weaving through the cones, being able to come to an emergency stop from about 30 kilometers an hour, being able to demonstrate slow speed throttle control on your bike, things like that. Now, there's a whole list that I'll provide right here of what those things are, and it's highly recommended that you go ahead and do a motorcycle training course to help you with those things if you don't have a really good preceptor or supervisor to help you with them. And I would still just recommend the driving course anyway, because you get so much valuable information out of that. It's just incredible. Now, once you have those pieces in place, then you can go ahead and do the skills test. You book that test after, you have to do it after about 14 days that you've gotten your learner's test, so that pretty much you can't do it right away. Now, one time where you could go ahead and that condition gets waived and you could do it sooner is if you actually did do motorcycle training from an approved agency. A lot of them will do the skills test as part of the training course, and so they are able to grant you that you've passed your motorcycle skills test. Then you can take that into an ICBC center to go ahead and get your temporary license. Now, once you have that skills test piece of it done, you actually get to have 2 conditions lifted off of your learner's license. And those 2 conditions are that you no longer must ride with a supervisor, and you are also now able to exceed speeds of 60 kilometers an hour. So those are the 2 restrictions that they lift off your license once you successfully complete your motorcycle skills test. After you have your motorcycle skills test all done and you have those 2 conditions waived off your license, then the next step is practice your buttocks off, because now you need to go ahead and do your road test. The road test is essentially your here and there, exactly what I'm doing right now test, and I do have an actual like mock road test that I did. So I'll post the link in the description below, and it's also going to be up here, so you can go ahead and click on that too. It is an hour long, so it's kind of the real McCoy as to what kinds of things you might expect to go through. Your road test is usually about 40 minutes long. They allocate you kind of an hour so you can have feedback and that kind of thing as well. And once you have that road test successfully done and completed and you pass, then you get a full Class 6 motorcycle license. Now, keeping in mind, those are all the steps, and that's the process if you already have an existing license. So if you do not already have an existing license, the steps are a little bit different, and you kind of have to do an extra couple steps to be able to get your actual full motorcycle license. Now, if you're coming in as a new person completely, you don't have a driver's license, you don't have a motorcycle's license, you don't have any of that, some of the requirements are obviously that you need to be of the correct age. And you actually need to do 2 separate knowledge test exams to start with. And one of them is just your basic everyday driving exam. And the other one is, of course, the motorcycle knowledge exam, just like what I talked about earlier for those of you going right for a class 6. You then have 30 days after you've done your knowledge test to go ahead and you can then do your skills test after that 30 days. And the skills test is exactly the same as what I just talked about. You need to demonstrate things like the U-turn, the emergency stop, being able to ride through weaves and all that kind of weird and wonderful stuff. So the skills test would be the same. So the skills test you can do in an ICBC approved center. You need to book it, and of course you have to pay a fee for that too. Other than that, you can do the skills test again through a certified motorcycle instruction school. After you do your skills test, then you're actually cleared to go ahead and ride around and practice and get ready for the big final road test you have to do, or one of the final road tests you have to do. So that permit for you is actually good for a period of 2 years. So you're a little more fortunate that way, because if you already have a driver's license, it's only valid for 1 year at that point. So you're valid for 2 years, so you get lots of practice time in that 2-year period. After that, if you do want to go ahead and do your Class 8 road test, you can go ahead and do the Class 8 road test after 12 months. So you have to wait for a full year with your learners before you're eligible to go do your Class 8. But you can take up to 2 years if you want to. If you do decide to go ahead and do it after the 12 months or whenever it is that you do it and you pass, then you are successful and you are granted a Class 8 novice motorcycle license. And pretty much after you've had that for a total of 2 years, then you're eligible. So you do have a motorcycle license at that point. But if you wanted to go ahead and get your full Class 6 motorcycle license, then you can absolutely go do that after a 2-year period. You pretty much have to redo the road test piece of it, because there's a couple extra little components that they include on the Class 6 road test. So you are eligible, however, to go ahead and do that. If you want more information on the whole process, if you do a Google for the ICBC motorcycle license, it takes you right to a page that pretty much lists all the criteria and everything. But if you're even just interested in getting your motorcycle license, I really encourage you to give it a go, give it a shot. You can always just go do your learners, and if you figure it's not for you, then you know what? That's okay too. You don't really have to follow through on it at all, but you might get bitten by the bug and absolutely adore it. So give it a try. If you're in my location and you don't really have anybody to ride with, but you're going to go do the training, then hey, you know what? Shoot me a message. I'm more than happy to head out with newer riders, and I'm more than happy to support anybody who wants to do that as best as I can. So anyway, hope that was a little bit helpful for anybody who's interested in getting a motorcycle license. Again, hit me up with any questions you might have if you're from the province of BC. If you're from another province, I might not be able to help you out because your rules are probably going to be a little bit different. But have a wonderful week. Don't forget, throw me a comment. I love interacting with everybody. Stay tuned for next week. Ride safe.